we're going to continue our special coverage from our special series, Bloomberg Hotspot, our Gujarat special, and putting the spotlight today on Symphony with about 55% market share in the organized products category. Symphony is leading the evaporative air cooler manufacturing segment in the country. Priyank Lakia is at their headquarters in Ahmedabad, and he's with the management of the company. Priyank, over to you.
That's right. Thanks for that. In fact, to beat the heat, the best option was for me to actually come down to the Symphony office. And that's what I've exactly done. We're right here on day 3 of our Gujarat coverage. We're sitting at the headquarters of Symphony. I have with me Mr. Nrupesh Shah of Symphony. He's the executive director there. So thank you so much for taking the time out today to talk to us. You know, before I start talking about, the market share or individual specifics as far as industry and Symphony is concerned, I actually want to talk about the journey out here, because it's been a long one as far as Symphony is concerned, from BIFR to where we currently stand in terms of market share, in terms of sales as well. Take us through it.
Thank you. It has been quite a pleasant journey for Symphony. Now, Symphony is into business for almost last 27 years.
Okay.
To start with, Symphony ventured into air cooling. It was the first organized player in the country to be into air cooler, and rest of the competition followed. Till mid-90s, Symphony was only air cooler company, but based on suggestion of some of the well-wishers, in mid-90s, Symphony diversified into a host of consumer durables and appliances. But due to a variety of reasons, none of them really did well, and hence in 2001-2, Symphony's net worth got completely wiped out, and Symphony was registered before BIFR. In 2004-5, it was decided to re-strategize the operations, and as a part of that, we deem it appropriate to shift from, in fact, to have a paradigm shift from multi-product, single market company to single product, complete range of air cooling, but multi-market. And that has really paid handsomely. So now we do have in air cooling 3 business segments. One is residential air cooler in domestic market, which according to us is a short-term to medium-term growth driver.
True.
Secondly, international business. And just 6-7 years before, our export was in few hundreds of units. Now export is in excess of 100 lakh units, and it is spread over 60 countries. So in medium term to long term, international business seems to be a growth driver. And on account of our acquisition of IMPCO in North America, we have also now diversified in air cooling segment, in industrial and commercial segment, and which we believe is going to be a long-term growth driver.
Talking about industry dynamics, share some perspective from us as to what we've been seeing over the last couple of years when it comes to the local market.
To talk about residential air coolers in India, the current market size is being estimated at about 7 million units. And industry as a whole is growing at about 12 to 15%. But the breakup between organized and unorganized sector is 80-20. 20% is organized sector, which was just about 10% 5 to 7 years before. In terms of the value, the ratio between unorganized and organized is almost 70 to 30%. As far as organized market is concerned, they are growing at about 20-25%. So more than the industry growth. The reason being, there is also a rapid shift from unorganized to organized on account of increase in income level and also aspiration level. So we expect that by 2020, the domestic market size should reach about 10 million units. And on CAGR basis, we expect that kind of growth to continue.
Talking about market size, the obvious question there is, what kind of market share do we actually enjoy when it comes to the domestic space out there, and importantly, is there a certain number that you have in mind going forward from as to what kind of targets you would be working with for market share, or how do you see that really panning out?
So in organized market, we have succeeded in having a dominating market share. So in volume term, last year our market share was in excess of 45%, in fact up from 40% a year before. And in value terms, it is in excess of 50%. Having said that, by and large, despite new entrants, we feel that by and large we should be in a position to maintain this market share.
So what gives you that edge? I mean, clearly you're the dominant player when it comes to the domestic space. What's been that USP? What's been that edge that's giving you, this kind of market share that's making you a little bit much better, in a much better position as compared to competition? Because talking to some of the market participants, talking to some of the analysts, they've been highlighting the fact that there is competition increase when we talk about this segment compared to probably years back. So how do you stand out? How do you differentiate?
The major difference between us and the competition is we are only air cooling company. We sleep, drink and eat air cooling. So there is a complete focus on the category. For most of the competitors in organized sector, air cooler is one of the product. That's number one. Number two, now as we are into this for last 27 years, I think we have a reasonable good idea as to what consumers want, what trade want, what are the aspirations. Number three, Symphony is the only company which is having government recognized R&D facility in air cooling industry. We have a major thrust on innovation, R&D, and fourthly, we keep on launching new models, we keep on upgrading our existing models, even though apparently it may look as a simple product, but in air cooler, 200 to 400 components are being used, and there is a lot to do, whether with the cooling performance, whether with the features, whether with the aesthetics, about the long-lasting life of the product, etc.
So let me take a cue from that and ask you, are there recent launches that we've actually seen? Are there some more in the pipeline out there? What kind of innovative products are we really looking at over the next couple of months?
In recent months, we came up with package air coolers that was about 5-6 months before. So that is the category in between residential air cooler and commercial or centralized air cooling. And for the first time in air cooling industry, package air coolers have been benchmarked straightway with package air conditioners. So those air coolers have been defined in tonnage and they are available from 4 ton to 12 ton. They are more relevant for mid-size offices, restaurants, nursing homes, small factories, religious segment, etc. So there was a complete vacuum for air cooling solution in that category. Before that, we launched some new models in window category of air cooler. And as a part of window category, now for the first time, we are having some models made out of metal, so that straightway we can take on to unorganized sector. Otherwise, all our models are plastic model. As far as new launches in next couple of months or year, we may talk more about it when we declare our quarterly performance in few weeks to come. But that's our stated policy. We will keep on upgrading the models. We will keep on launching new products.
Fair.
And excitement will continue.
Fair enough. Now the other aspect out here is that you've also been making acquisitions abroad. So take us to that as well. One of the recent one being the Chinese company as well.
Sure. So in August 2015, we have acquired Chinese air cooling company called Munter Carolite, which is about 15 years old, branded Chinese air cooling company. That company in 2011 was acquired by Swedish conglomerate. And from Swedish company, in turn we have acquired. That company is having both the business, residential air cooler as well as centralized air cooling. That is the company which is having almost 50% business in China and almost 50% business overseas. It's having almost 80 IP rights, including 51 patents.
Wow.
It is state-of-the-art R&D facility, meeting with American and Australian standard. In whole of Asia, no other air cooling company, not even Symphony India, is having that kind of R&D facility. Plus, on account of special agreements by China with South Asian countries, it will open the door for international access, not only in Southeast Asia, but also internationally. And more importantly, from India, we have to approach the world for exports, while from overseas, the vendors and customers approach to China. So I think that should help us in having better international presence in the time to come.
Since you mentioned about the international markets, give us some perspective on that as well. I mean, one, as you said, the acquisition is providing you that synergy in terms of approaching a couple of or expanding in some of these global markets. But what kind of trends are you seeing there? What are we witnessing when it comes to various geographies? Because again, exports probably may not be the major part of it, but how are you basically seeing exports panning out from here?
So last year, on consolidated basis, our international business contributed in excess of 15% of the top line.
Exactly.
As per our understanding and estimate, rest of India and the rest of China, international market size of residential air cooler is in the range of 5 million to 7 million units. That is at par with almost domestic market.
Yeah.
So whether it's Middle East, North America, Latin America, or Southeast Asia, there is an existing market and there is also a huge potential.
That's our live coverage coming out of Ahmedabad, and that was the management of Symphony. But very quickly, what's happening in the markets as we end this show? The markets continuing, the selling pressure continuing, the 0.7% lower and more pressure coming in on the Nifty, 8123 on the Nifty. And this is on a day when we've seen the Chinese markets back open after a week's break and the volatility clearly being factored in, 0.7% lower on the Nifty. But completely out of time on the show. On the other side, we come down to Q2 earnings season and in conversation with Ajay Srinivasan of Crystal Research on expectations from the earnings season and what we're watching for from India Inc. That's coming up, to stay tuned.